Yeah, guys. So today we are talking about something called constructors. So what is constructor? Now it is fine, no? Yeah. So it is a special member function. Okay, or you can say method or member function. So we are talking about constructor now, which has the same name as class. Okay, and what is the purpose of it? It is used to initialize an object. Okay, if you want to create an object, initialize an object, we use a constructor. Okay, so how do you differentiate a constructor and a normal method? A normal method should be called, okay, explicitly. Okay, and it should have return type, guys, but constructor should not have any return type. We should not give any return type to constructor. But normal method, at least we have to say void. If normal method is not returning any value, we will say void display or void accept, something like that. Okay, but if you go for a constructor, do not give any void also. We should not give any return type, no integer, no void, nothing. You cannot give anything. If you give it, it's an error. So that is said to be difference between normal method and a constructor. Okay, so we can pass methods or parameters to constructor method. Constructor can have parameters. So if you have constructor with parameters, at the time of creating object, we need to pass parameters, arguments, values we need to give. Those values will be initialized to our object. That is the purpose of creating a constructor with parameters. Okay, constructor should not have any return type. And if you write a constructor without parameters, constructor which is without parameters, without parameters, or you can call it as parameterless constructors, which is also called as default constructor. So constructor can have parameters or cannot have, it depends upon the requirement, guys. Okay, if you write any constructor without parameters, which is also called as parameterless constructor or default constructor, it will be called implicitly, as soon as you create object. So the moment you create an object, if you have any parameterless constructor or default constructor, or you know this default constructor or parameterless constructor will be called implicitly. Implicitly means automatically, so you need not call it explicitly like a normal method. So that is the difference between normal method and constructor. Normal method should be called explicitly, we have to call it, but whereas if it is constructor, it will be called automatically. Implicitly means automatically, as soon as we create object. And if you can write more than one constructors in a class, so that constructor overloading is possible. So you can write two or more constructors in a class. That means we can write two or more constructors in a class. So this is the point we need to remember. So what is constructor, guys? It's a special member function which has the same name as class. So class name and constructor name should be same. That is the first thing. Second thing is, what is the purpose of a constructor? To initialize an object. Okay, and constructor should not have any return type. You cannot use even void also. And constructor without parameters or parameterless constructor will be called automatically or implicitly as soon as we create object. Of course, we can have parameters like normal method, and if you write more than one constructor in a class, that is called as constructor overloading. That is also possible in C Sharp. Okay, yeah, and constructor overloading is possible. Yes. What next? Okay, so we have different types of constructors in C Sharp, guys. So what are they? The first one is default constructor or parameterless constructor or instance constructor. You can call like anything. So why are we calling it as parameterless constructor? Because that constructor doesn't have any parameters. That is called as default constructor. Okay, no parameters, right? So parameterless constructor or default constructor. Okay. Second one is parameterized constructor. If you pass any parameters to a constructor, it is called as parameterized constructor. Next one is there is something called copy constructor. Next one is there is something called static constructor. Okay, static constructor, copy constructor, and there is something called private constructor is also there, guys, but we use it very rare. Okay, uh, yeah. So these are the different types of constructors. Okay, so very rarely we go for static constructor and private also, and these three will be widely used. Mostly 99% we go with the first two, parameterless and parameterized. These two will use it most widely. Okay, so these are the total type of different types of constructor. Let's get started with the default constructor or parameterless constructor. Okay, so default constructor demo. How to do it? So suppose we have a class called employee. Then inside this employee class, so we have a method, right? We can write methods or variables, right? So I'm taking integer variable employee ID. So I'm taking it as private. Same way, private string name, employee name, e name I'm giving, or only name. Then salary. We have another type of number variable, double salary. Three variables we have. Then what to do? You need to create a constructor, guys. How to create a constructor? The class name should be method name and constructor name should be same. So how do you write access modifier public employee? That's it. This is the way we need to write it, guys. So this is a constructor. So generally when you're writing method, how do you write public void display or ABC, like that we'll write method name, right? But in constructor we should not write this return type. Only access modifier, mostly public, will give. For private constructor will give private here. It's a different story, private. But remaining for all types of constructors you have to use public access modifier. Okay, so what is this? Class name. So my constructor name and class name should be same. That is the rule we need to follow. And here you can write the code actually. So whatever code you are writing, that will be executed as soon as you create the object. Okay, that is the purpose of. Generally, what do we do? We'll initialize this member variables here by using this keyword. This dot empid is equal to something like 101 or some id. Then this dot, this small letters, guys, if you're showing capital letters here, this dot name is equal to Surya I'm giving. Then this dot salary is equal to, like that you are giving. This dot salary is equal to something like 50,000 I'm giving. So this is the way you need to do. Okay, we need to initialize the values for the member variables or what do you call instance variables or class variables, you can say. That is the actual purpose of a constructor. So what happens when you create an object? As soon as you create an object, suppose we are in a class called program, in that we have main method, static void main, like that we have main method. Here what I'm doing, I need to create object of it. How to create object? Just by saying employee emp is equal to new employee. So whenever you say this, employee is my class name, e is object name, or e1 is equal to new employee. When you say this, automatically even object is initialized. So what are the values of even object? Even object contains these three values. Then how to display the values? You can have a normal method. I'm writing one more method called public void display. It's a normal method, guys. What is the purpose of normal method? You can use it for anything, any purpose. But what is the purpose of a constructor? Constructor should not have general logic, guys. Constructor purpose is only to initialize the members with values. If you want to give any values, you can give it. Okay, but not for other calculations, adding, subtracting, multiplication, not for this purpose. Constructor is purely meant for initializing object with whatever values you want to initialize, but it is not meant for writing a business logic. That's the important point you need to remember. Here I'm writing console.writeLine empid, console.writeLine name, console.writeLine salary, like that you can print all of them. Okay, name and console.writeLine salary. So this is the way we can use constructor. This is constructor method. Constructor method. This is a normal method. Normal. Come on, guys. Is it clear, everybody? Maheshwari. So normal method is you can write anything. Normal method name can be anything, and we should have return type for a normal method. But whereas if you look at the constructor, the name of the constructor and the class name should be exactly same. Okay, and it should not have any return type. You should not use void or integer or something. You can use access modifier public. And what is the purpose of a constructor? Only to initialize the object, to give initial values to our object. You can use it. That's why I wrote this with some values. Okay, so when you are accessing member variable, always use this keyword, this dot variable name, this dot. It's highly recommended, guys. Okay, that is why we have to use this keyword, this dot. This means current class object variable, that is employee id, that means member variable. So member variables can be accessible. Okay, so what is default constructor? It should not have any parameters. Okay, it is a constructor which doesn't have parameters, and it will be called automatically, implicitly, as soon as we create object. Okay, that is called as default constructor. That is what is also called as parameterless constructor. Okay, yeah, this is the demo that we are talking now. So let me show you one more example. Apart from this, one small example I'll tell you. After that, we'll get back to this. So whenever you create object of employee class like this, here the constructor is default constructor will be called here. That is the purpose. I mean the situation where constructor will be called. Now I can call e1.display. Display will be displaying the details of employee object, e1 object. So whenever you say the e1.display, it will print the values on the screen, guys. That is all about constructor, default constructor usage. So now what I'm showing is, I will show you this example in the second, but first let me show you a small constructor, default constructor example, so that you'll understand more clearly. Okay, that is, I'm creating a class called sample. In that I'm just writing a constructor called sample, and then I'm going to call it. without any parameters, so that you will understand how constructor works. After that we will be going to this example whatever I have shown you right now. I'm creating a new project and I'm selecting console app.net framework. Just I'm writing one line inside the constructor, whether it is called or not, just for the sake of checking whether the constructor is invoked or not. I want to check, that is the reason just I'm writing one line of code. Yeah, selecting this console app.net framework, click on next, and I'm selecting here constructor demo 1 or default constructor demo. Yeah, what's the problem? Yeah, now it's working, guys. So what are we giving? We are giving the project name as demo constructor and OOP underscore demo underscore default constructor. Okay, like that I'm giving some project name create. We are creating it. So let's go with the sample constructor. Just we are writing hello, just message constructor invoked. Like that, I want to just give a small message, one line of code, guys, just to check whether the constructor is invoked or not. I want to check. Okay, so for that we are writing a sample class. Inside that we are writing a constructor and normal method also we are writing, guys. So let us see the difference between normal method and constructor method so that you'll understand more clearly. Okay. So let's get started. We are creating a class right now. I'm not writing inside a separate class, guys. I'm writing here itself so that it's easy to you to understand. But when you are doing real time, we should always go for multiple classes, as I told you in the last session. Okay, you can check the last video how to do, you know, three multiple classes in different files. Right now, I'm showing you in one, file, guys. Yeah, that is constructor. Which type of constructor? Default constructor or parameterless constructor demo. So how to do this? Let's create a class now. So what is the class name? So a namespace can have multiple classes, right? The namespace called oops demo underscore def constructor. In that I'm creating two classes. Already class program is there for main method. This is another class I'm writing. The second class name is I'm giving it as sample. So here I'm not writing any variables and all. Directly I'm writing a method, normal method. Public void, let's say hello method. Hello method. So what I'm writing, hello from sample, like that. Just I'm writing a message. Hello from sample. Okay. Just we have a normal method, guys. Hello from sample. So what about this method? So I have to call this method, otherwise it will not be displayed, it will not execute, right? So let's create an object of sample class. Sample s is equal to new sample. Okay, this is the way I created object. So whenever I create an object, this is creating object, which is also called as instantiation. Okay, good, we created object, but what about the hello method? You have to call hello method s dot hello, like this you can call, then only you are able to display the output of hello method. Okay, that is the behavior of normal method, guys. It's a normal method. So let's run it and test it. We have created a class called sample in which I have a normal method. I don't have any constructor as of now. We have I created an object as well, and we are calling hello. Of course, we will get the output as hello from sample. That output will be displayed. It's executing, guys. Just wait for a minute. See, guys, we got the output hello from sample. So it is a normal method. There is nothing special in it, right? Now, how do you differentiate a normal method and a constructor? Let's get started. So we are writing a constructor here. How to write a constructor? Public sample, because the class name and the constructor name should be same. So that sample. Any spelling exactly should be same, guys. Sample. Public is the access modifier. Now we need to write the code here. Right line. Just I'm writing constructor invoked or default constructor invoked, like that you can write some message. Okay, but now since it is a constructor, right? It's a constructor, right? It is not required to call. We need not call it explicitly, guys. You can see here, the moment you create an object, automatically it will call the constructor. Okay, you can see here. Let's see the output. This time you will get messages from hello method, anyhow we are calling here, plus your constructor message also will be displayed. Let's test it and see the output, guys, so that we will understand constructor need not be called explicitly. If it is a default constructor or parameterless constructor, it will be called automatically. Look at the output, guys. Constructor invoked first, followed by your own method, hello method. Okay, so that is how constructor is different from normal method. Okay, so if you look at these two, you will understand clearly. It's a normal method, right? So what is normal method? It is having return type, void, integer, string, double, bool, like that. We'll write some return type. Here what do we write? You should not write anything. Only access modifier and class name should be there. Here you can give any name, hello, abc, accept, display, like that you can give anything. But here there is a rule that the class name and method name should be, or constructor name should be same. And of course we can pass parameters also. Right now we wrote parameterless constructor or default constructor. So this is called as default constructor or parameterless constructor or instance constructor. So why are we calling it as instance constructor? Because the moment you create instance means object, then it will automatically uh, getting called. So what I'm writing here, constructor called here. Just I'm giving a message for easy understanding. Constructor will be called in this way. So whenever you create an object, constructor first will be called, so that this message will be printed. After that you are calling explicitly s.hello, then this message will be printed. So that is the difference between normal method and a constructor. Let's run it one more time and test it. Any questions, guys? Is it clear? See, first constructor is called because the moment you create an object, automatically constructors are getting created in memory. They will construct the object actually. Since we don't have any values, we just invoked or displayed some message. But if you have any values, that can be initialized. Okay. Sample method is a normal method, so that you can call it whenever you want. Okay. So let's copy this and paste it in the notes. Now we will do that employee example, whatever I told you. Employee example. Okay, yeah, default constructor demo 2, that is working with employees. You need to try for student, guys. I'm giving it for employees right now. So what are we doing? We are creating a new project. So go to file, save all, go to file, close solution. then it is getting closed. Yeah, now we are creating a new project where we are creating with console app.NET framework. This is a demo OOP, okay, constructor 2. Okay, constructor 2 means parameterized constructor with parameters. CONSTR params, like that. I gave a name for it. Click on create. My project is getting ready. After that, uh, sorry, without parameters only, no? Constructor without parameters only. Second example. Okay, let it be. So default constructor demo. So initializing object with some values. What are we doing? Initializing object with the some default values. So how to do that? Create a class called employee. Same example, guys. Whatever I told you, same thing. So inside this, we need three data members, or member variables: private integer, emp id, private string name, private double salary. Like this, we have three member variables or data members. Now we need to create a constructor, right? How to create a constructor? Come on, guys, tell me, how should I write? What should I write now? Constructor means, type your answer, guys. I have a class called employee. So how do you write a constructor, default constructor for this? Or parameterless constructor? How do I write? Type your answers in the chat box, guys. So already I have shown you sample example, sample constructor. Now you tell me how to write. Yeah, public employee, very good. Yeah. So but here, instead of writing manually, you can use shortcut in Visual Studio, guys. Just CTOR, press tab key. Yeah. Public employee integer string double, yeah, that is parameterized constructor now. Okay, see guys, shortcut I wrote it. So let me show you one more time how to write the constructor. CTOR, press tab key twice. If you press tab twice after CTOR, you will get constructor automatically. So it will look at the class name and it will generate automatically, guys. Now you need to write this dot empid is equal to, what is this here? This means current class object. What is current class? Employee class object. What is the value? I'm giving employee ID as 10. Same with this dot name is equal to, you can give some name. Name is equal to Surya, I'm giving. Same way this dot salary is equal to, okay, something like 50,000. Like this, you can write something called constructor with some values. What type of constructor is this? It is called default constructor, or parameterless constructor, or instance constructor. So now I need to display these values, right? For that I'm writing a normal method. So how to write a normal method? We know it, right? Public void display. Display means I want to show the employee details, or any other name, guys. You can say, write show employee details, like that also you can give it. I said display console.writeLine. So first one is employee ID I'm printing. You can say this dot employee ID, empid, console.writeLine, name of the employee, that is again this dot name. So this dot name. So when you write this, automatically the member variables list will be coming, guys. That is the advantage of using this salary. So you can say this dot salary automatically. IntelliSense will help you to select the variable name from the list. So far so good. We are done with the two methods. One class is there. We have three member variables are there. Okay, three member variables or data members, and here we have a default constructor which is having some default values, and this is a normal method which is displaying the results. Now let's come back to this program class, creating object of the what you call employee class. How to create employee? emp1 is equal to new employee. That is the way you are creating object. So the moment you create an object, automatically constructor is called. Okay, constructor will be called here. Okay, shortcut I'm writing constructor called here. Which constructor will be called? That is nothing but our default constructor. So whenever you create an object, automatically emp1 object will be filled with these values, guys. It will have id 10, name Surya, and salary is 50,000. So how to know? Just you can call method called emp1.display. The moment you call emp1.display, automatically the values of the employee class, whatever we initialized inside the constructor, will be displayed. Let us run it and test it, guys. I saved it and I'm calling it. See, guys, now you will be getting values. So constructor is not meant for displaying messages, guys. It is for initializing object with some values. That is the actual purpose of constructor. So do not write the code whatever we have been writing in a normal method. Normal methods can have anything, guys. You can write anything. Normal method, you can write any logic. It can be a small message, or it can be anything, any business logic you can write it. But when it comes to the constructor, the pure purpose of constructor is just to initialize the object of the class, not for the sake of showing messages or writing a business logic, adding two numbers, calculations. Do not do any job. So constructor is exclusively meant for initializing object with some values. It can be any our own values or default values, whatever you want to give, you can give it. Okay, so now we are done with the first model of first type of constructor, that is to be default constructor. The first model is done out of five types. First one is done. Now we are going to second one, that is a parameterized constructor. Okay, which is also called as constructor with parameters or constructor with arguments, like that we can say. That is the second category. It is called as parameterized constructor. Okay, it is also called as, it is taking parameters. It is also called as constructor with arguments or constructor with parameters. Okay, so if you want to call this constructor with parameters or parameterized constructor, you have to call it, you have to pass the what you call parameters at the time of creating object, guys. So we have to pass arguments or values at the time of creating object, at the time of creating object, in order to call parameterized constructor. So if you want to call parameterized constructor, what is the requirement, guys? You have to pass arguments or values at the time of creating object. That is the important thing. Okay, let us see this example, guys. We'll switch to the same example. Employee constructor only I'm taking. Generally, what do we write inside default constructor? Of course, for easiness, I wrote this like 10 Surya 50,000 like that. But in real time, what do we write? In real time, if you forgot to write this constructor, it will create a constructor for us, guys. Generally, what do we write in a default constructor? So let me show you. In real time project, if you are working as a .NET developer, what do you do actually? So demo oops OOP constructor demo 2. Okay, let us create a constructor with the how do you write default constructor actually? Suppose I'm taking a student class constructor demo 2. We are writing a constructor. So what is this actually? We are going to see parameterized constructor. But before writing parameterized constructor, how to write a default constructor? Let us see with one more example. So class student I'm saying, guys. Here I'm going to write three member variables for a student: private, integer, roll number. I'm taking R and O, or let's say ID. ID is nothing but roll number. Private string name of the student. Private double average of the student. Okay, like this I've taken three. How do you write a default construct? As I said, you will be writing something like CTOR shortcut. Press tab key, we'll get a constructor, default constructor. So what do you write here? This dot id is equal to 0. Default values we need to give actually. This dot name is equal to null. What is the string variable default value? Null, right? So that I'm writing null here. Coming to the last, average, this dot avg is equal to 0, because integer value or double value will have default value as 0 only. So that I wrote like this is the way you need to write a default construct. But in previous example we wrote like roll number 10, name, Surya, like that I gave some values, right? That is also okay if you want to give default values for every object like that. That is not a good practice, right? Giving same value for every new object. So that is the reason you can go like this in this model. Of course this is optional here, this can be written or you can skip it. As of now there is no issue with this keyword. This is the way we need to write it. Now let's write a display method in order to display the values. Public void display. Okay. So what are we writing here? I want to display the values of student ID. So this dot ID I'm saying, and then name I'm printing. That is name. This dot name I'm saying. Then console dot written average. So average is this dot avg. Like this we have mentioned it, and we are going to call it. Now when you call create an object for student, automatically this will initialize with 0, this will have null means nothing, and you will have average is 0. And if you call this display method, you will get 0, nothing means null, null, and 0 here. Let us check it out, guys. I am creating object for it. So what I am doing, student s1 is equal to, s1 means first object, new student I am saying. So whenever you create an object called s1, automatically it is calling a constructor called here. So it will automatically call this and initialize the values 0, null, 0. And now we are printing s1 dot display, student1 dot display. I'm just getting the values. What do we get the values now? The values will be 0, null, and 0. Null means nothing, you cannot see anything. Let's run it and check it out. See the output, guys? We got id, null means nothing, we cannot print null, right? So that empty is displayed, and average is 0. This is said to be default constructor. Is it clear, everybody? Yeah. So what is my default constructor contains? It contains default values of my variables according to the data type. If the integer type is there, it will have integer or double numeric types will be 0, and if it is string type means it is null. If it is bool type means false. Like that it will have some default values. Okay, so now what I'm saying is I'm commenting this, or you can delete it also, guys. Deleting, commenting will be seen, right now I'm commenting as of now. That means it is not there. What happens when you forgot to write a default constructor? This is the interview question, guys. If you forgot to write any default constructor in a class, then automatically C sharp creates a new constructor for us. That is a default constructor for us. It will have the same values, guys. Let's run it and check it out. Now you see the output, you will be surprised. That means it will automatically creates a constructor, and it will initialize with 0, null, 0 again, and you will get same values. This is the proof that if you forgot to write a default constructor in any class, C sharp will automatically create a new default constructor for us. That is the meaning of it, guys. Is it clear, everybody? Okay. Note. Yeah. So what I'm giving, if you forgot to create a, if you forgot to create a default constructor in a class, then C sharp will create a default constructor for us. Create a default constructor for us with the default values of variables depends upon the data type. You can see this, whatever example I have shown you right now, this is the best one. Okay, so let me copy and paste it. And what you need to check, you need to check first, without any like this, you run it. After that you uncomment this and run it, get the same output, guys. So is it clear, everybody? Default constructor, which will be created automatically, so you need not write it. If you want to write, you can write it, there is no problem. Okay, but if you want to write a default constructor, always should be like this, guys. That is the way you need to follow. What about parameterized constructor? Sir, I want to give this constructor as it is. Okay, let it be, whether it is creating or not. I will not bother about it. Plus, I want to pass my own roll number, ID, and name and average to a student. What to do? Here we are creating another constructor. What is this? Again, CTOR, you can say press tab key, but this time you are taking parameters. Here there is no parameters, a default constructor, right? Empty. Here we need to take parameters. How do you take? Integer ID, same name, give it, guys, string name, and okay, double average. Like this, I have three variables. ID is there, name is there, average. ID is what type? Integer type. Whatever is type is given, same type you need to give. Name is string type, and average is double type. Now how to initialize? Excuse me, guys. If you see here x, y, and z, guys, try to understand carefully. If I give x, y, z, string integer variable x, string variable y, double variable z, then what should I write here? These are temporary parameters, or variables, right? These I need to initialize to ID, name, and average. How to do that? ID, name, and average. How to do that? So you have to write a ID is equal to, or this dot ID is equal to x, like that you can write it. Okay, name is equal to y, you need to write it like this, guys. Okay, the last one is avg is equal to z, like this you need to write it. This is the way to initialize. But what is the best way to go? If you have different names for these parameters and for your variables, member variables, then you can follow this. But this is not a recommended model, guys. What is the best model you need to follow? So let me write it first, we'll run it, and then we will come back to this part, guys. This is called as parameterized constructor. So any constructor which is having some parameters is called as parameterized constructor. I have three parameters. One is integer, string, and double, because I have the same type of numbers in my class variable. Class we have three types of variables: integer, string, and double. That is the reason I took the same different type of variables. It is okay, good. So displaying is also done. It is fine. This dot id, this dot name, and this dot average. Now, how to call this default constructor? Sorry, parameterized constructor. So I have one object which is calling default constructor, that is nothing but your zero null zero default constructor. But I want to call this. In order to call the second one, I'm creating second object. How to create second object? Student s2 is equal to new student. Now you need to pass values here. It is empty, it will call default constructor. But I need to pass values. What I'm giving here? 2 is the name of the student, and the name is Ram I'm giving, and salary is something like 60,000 I'm giving. This is the way I'm initializing values, guys. Now how to call display method? S1 dot display or S2 dot display? Come on, guys, what should I write? S1 dot display or S2 dot display? Yeah, S2 dot display, guys. Very good. So S2 dot display, because second object display I need to call. So it will be initialized to the parameterized constructor, that is here the number 2 will be passed. Okay, and here ram will be passed, here salary will be passed. These three values I'm initializing to id, name, average respectively. But what is the best way to write? The best way to write is, let us run this first and we'll test it, guys, how it is working. This is first object, creating first object. You can create n number of objects, I told you, right? This had to be second object. Like this you can create a number of objects. So let's run it and test it. First object will give you 0 null 0. Second object will give you whatever values you have passed. See, guys, the first object contains id null 0, and second object contains 2 ram and 60,000. So that is the way you can initialize objects using parameterized constructor and default constructor. But what is the best way to write? Is it is working fine, but what is the best way where every developer follows? Means you have to use same names, whatever we used here, same names we need to use parameters. So integer id. So let me comment this, guys. I'm writing like this so that you will keep this for you. So what is the next model? I want to write a constructor, ctu or tab key. So here inside this we should write same name, integer id, string name, double avg. Like this we need to write it. But here I have id variable, and here also I have id variable, right? Then how do you differentiate? In order to get the member variables, you have to use this keyword. How to get member variables? With the help of this keyword. So what should I write here? This dot id is equal to id. What is meant by id? This one, local variable. What is this dot id? This is the member variable. So into this variable I'm storing the value of id variable. Yeah, class variables are referred with the this keyword. Local variables can be called without any this keyword. So local variable value I'm assigning to class variable or member variable. Same way, this dot name equals to name. And the last one is this dot avg is equal to avg. Like this, we can initialize the member variables using local variables inside a parameterized constructor. This is called as parameterized constructor. Okay, now let's go and run it and we'll see the output. So what is the purpose of this keyword in C sharp? Like that they'll ask you. So when you have same name for member variables and local variables, in order to refer your member variables you have to use this keyword. That is the definition of this keyword. Okay, if anyone asks you what is the purpose of this keyword, means it is used to refer to the current class object. Okay, it is used to refer to the current class object. When do we use it? When we have same name, it is used to refer member variables or class variables, you can say, or instance variables. When we have same name for both member variables and local variables. That is what all about this keyword, guys. What is this keyword? When do we use it? This keyword is used when we have same name for local variables, global variables. In order to refer member variables, you have to use this dot variable name. Example, this dot name is equal to name. Like this we write it. So name is a local variable, this dot name is a member variable. So here this dot name is a member variable, whereas name is local variable. Local variable. This dot name is a this dot name is a member variable. That is the difference between okay, local variable and a member variable. So in order to refer member variables, when we have same name, this keyword is used. If you have xyz and id, name and average, no problem guys. But most of the times in real time projects, you know almost all the developers will follow this model only. They will use this one guys. It is most frequently used model. Okay, parameterized constructor with this keyword. So why are we using this? Because same names are there for local variables as well as member variables. Okay, yeah. So output will be same guys, whether you use same names or different names, output will be same. But this is most widely used models in development, so that we have to learn it. See guys, id, name, average from default constructor, and this is from parameterized constructor. So yeah, that's all for today. So we are done with parameterized constructor and parameterless or default constructor. Okay, so we are done with the two. And what you can try is you create task one. So create a class called product. Okay, which should have only one task I'm giving guys. Should have a default constructor with default values constructor and parameterized constructor and a display method. Display method is to display the display method to display product details. Product details like what are the product details? Product ID, name, and price. Okay, you can take category also. Category means what type of products they are. Category price. Okay, category means either it is electronic type, electronics, or clothing, or food and beverages, like the different categories of products, right? So take this id as integer, name as a string, category is also string, and price is double. Like that you create a class. Inside the class we should have one default constructor and one parameterized constructor and display method. Three things should be there. Okay, excuse me, do it and let me know guys. So that's all for today. Let me stop there.